What's going on, college hoops heads? This is another live stream on the Center Hub's YouTube channel, Twitter page, so on and so forth. My name is Stephen Bagell. I am joined by Andrew Schaeffer. Busy weekend in hoops for both of us. We're going to get to that in terms of games we covered, games we watched. Andrew, first of all, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Like you said, it's been a pretty busy week for both of us. I just did Seton Hall Creighton today, so it's a great game, and we'll go through the process. We'll recap it all, and hopefully, this week is just as good as the last one.
So this is our first live stream. We've been doing these every Sunday throughout the season. This is our first one in 3 weeks. Obviously with the holidays and Christmas and there not being many games. So I'm going to try to encapsulate the best I can from our last live stream in terms of recapping, but obviously that isn't, we can't really jam pack that into an hour. So Andrew, let's start with some of the games you covered. You already alluded to it. Seton Hall and Creighton today at the Prudential Center. It was, I believe, a 2-point game it ended up being by the end, the final score?
Correct.
So tell me a little bit about what you've seen with Seton Hall. Seton Hall also did, Villanova went to the Prudential Center on the 30th, right before New Year's Eve. And Villanova won that game. So we're going to talk some Big East overall sentiments of the Big East. But what's your biggest takeaway from Seton Hall and Creighton?
I mean, first of all, the crowd was great. Considering it was a noon game, I think the crowd really showed up. I mean, the problem was in the first half was Seton Hall only put up 19 points. Like, you don't win a lot of games putting up 19 points in a half. Seton Hall had a lot of problems scoring early, and both teams really struggled in the first half offensively. Second half, it started to flow a little better. Creighton got out to a 16-point lead. And then Seton Hall just started to press. Shaheen Holloway wanted to press a lot, and I think it flustered Creighton a little bit. Creighton kind of got out of rhythm. Josh Dix, who was playing really well for them, only shot 1 of 8 in the second half. And ultimately what it came down to was one rebound. Seton Hall got Bud Clark in an action. That's what Shaheen Holloway said he wanted. Bud had like a 10, 15-foot shot. It went in and out. Najee Hines grabbed it, laid it in, and they ended up winning the game. It's a huge win for Seton Hall because I think a lot of people thought Seton Hall was going to fall off. I don't think anyone really believed in Seton Hall. But now that they've beaten Creighton, I think people are going to start to take them a little bit more seriously. It's a disappointing loss for Creighton. I mean, a 16-point lead. They out-rebounded Seton Hall by 7. And Seton Hall only had one guy in double figures. That was Elijah Fisher. They didn't have anyone else in double figures. And Creighton found a way to lose. It was a heartbreaking loss for Creighton and a huge win for Seton Hall.
So, Seton Hall is now 13-2. The 2 losses we already alluded to, their home loss against Villanova and the Maui championship against USC. They have wins over NC State, which looked a lot better when it was in Maui than it does now. I mean, it's still a quality win, don't get me wrong, but that may, being on a neutral, let's see, that is currently a quad 2 or quad 3 if it was neutral. It is, bear with me 1 second. It is a quad. Don't mind me. It's a quad 1 win still on a neutral. So that still obviously matters. Quad 1 wins, as you know, Andrew, do not grow on trees. Creighton. Creighton was undefeated in Big East. They were 2-0. They 2-0 with 3-0. They were 3-0. Now they're 3-1. Obviously 9-6. That's a little detrimental to your chances at the NCAA tournament. This is the type of win, especially as Andrew, as you said, Creighton being up by 16, they had to find a way to win it. Now they're going to be playing at Villanova on Wednesday. I will be there.
It's going to be a tough game. I mean, Villanova's playing really well. They just beat Butler, and Creighton's going to be angry going into that game. Anytime you blow a 16-point lead and I mean, frankly, everyone thought the game was over. I mean, Seton Hall had nothing offensively, and all of a sudden they found some life, and the crowd got into it, and you know, I expect Creighton to be pretty angry going into that Villanova game. They have a tough stretch. I mean, they play Seton Hall, Villanova, and then they play St. John's. I mean, they have a very difficult stretch here. And Creighton really hasn't beaten anyone this year. Like, if you look at their resume, they haven't done a whole lot. So this would have been a huge road win for them in terms of the resume. I still think at the end of the day, they're probably going to be a bubble team, just because the non-conference didn't help them a lot. But I think you have to trust Greg McDermott in this spot. He's been here. He's one of the best coaches in the country. And, I think it's just for them, the biggest thing is, Jackson McAndrew's out for the year. And I think they're still adjusting without Kalkbrenner and Ashworth. They're used to having those guys. And those two guys are gone. And, I thought Creighton got some good looks. I mean, they had a lot of open looks. Like Josh Dix had looks, he just didn't make them. When that happens. But again, tough loss for them.
So while we're talking Creighton and Seton Hall, Andrew, there was another Big East game you had the opportunity to cover yesterday. Providence beat St. John's in MSG. I believe it was John Rothstein who tweeted it out, but St. John's was 12-0 last year. 12-0 last year at MSG. Now they're 2-2 to start the year at MSG specifically. So let's just talk Big East in general now. You saw Creighton, Seton Hall. We saw Seton Hall just lose to Villanova. We saw Providence, who hadn't yet won a Big East game, go to MSG and beat St. John's. Just what's the overall sentiment of the Big East? I mean, and we could talk a little bracketology in that in terms of whether it's a 4-bid, 5-bid. What's your overall thoughts on the Providence and St. John's game? We'll start with.
Yeah, look, St. John's had to win that game. First of all, Providence was off 15 days. I mean, they had a 15-day layoff. They started down 13-2 in that game. Like, some people thought it was already over, and Providence just kept fighting. And I got to give their crowd credit because Providence traveled. Like, that crowd was 50-50 at Madison Square Garden, which was shocking in itself. But, I thought Sellers was really good for them. Stephen Fox had some huge shots in the second half. I think he went 4 for 6 from 3 just in the second half. I mean, he was incredible. That was the biggest win Kim English has had. I mean, this is a guy whose seat is on fire right now. They spent a lot of money on their roster with Sellers, with Jason Edwards, the Vanderbilt transfer, Duncan Powell from Georgia Tech. Like, they need to start winning games. And, they lost a lot of close games. Like, they lost to Seton Hall. They lost to Butler in that crazy double overtime game at Hinkle. They lost to Virginia Tech early in the year. Like, they needed to get over the hump. And I think this could be a season-changing win for them. I mean, they still have a long way to go. They're playing UConn this week at the AMP. So that's going to be another huge game for Providence. I mean, they were literally staring 0-4 in the face if they lost to St. John's potentially. For St. John's, it was just a massive disappointment. Their guard play was awful. Ian Jackson didn't play well. Sellers, Sannon, those guys, and Bryce Hopkins, it was the first time he had played Providence since he left, and there was a lot of emotion there, but they just didn't play well. Zuby Ejiofor dominated. I mean, I think he was the first player in the country this season to have 10 offensive rebounds in a game and score 30, which is just crazy to think about.
And I think I saw that Zuby led St. John's in assist, which
he did.
Is, maybe not that big of a problem if they actually had a point guard.
Right. Right. No.
Given that they don't, I think, that's something clearly worth mentioning.
Yeah, I mean, I think their most natural point guard is Dylan Darling. But at the end of the day, coming from the Big Sky to the Big East is a big jump. And I don't know if, again, I don't want to speak for Rick Pitino. I don't know if he thought that Dylan Darling was going to be more ready by now. But they've got to figure out their guard situation because it's not pretty. And Bryce Hopkins is not living up to expectations. So they've got to figure some things out. Maybe it's just a couple practices. I don't know. They've got to figure some things out because that loss is not good. I think it's a quad 3, if I remember right, or it was a quad 3 when the loss happened. But, I mean, that's a damaging loss for them because they don't really have great wins on their resume, really. They didn't do well at Players Error. They lost to Alabama. They don't have the wins right now. And they're looking at trending towards potentially being out of the tournament if the trend they're going. Because Seton Hall's got wins. Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
They're 1-4 quad one for what it's worth,
Yeah,
and it was a quad 3 loss. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like Seton Hall's played well. UConn is who they are. We know they're the best team in the league. Villanova is good. I think Villanova is going to be a tournament team. I don't think there's any question about that now. I don't know. Maybe Creighton makes a run. Maybe they can get it together. St. John's looks like, I don't know, 4th or 5th in the league right now. They don't look the part. It's roster construction is the issue right now with this group, and Rick Pitino's going to have to figure it out. They're going to have to maybe have some heart-to-heart conversations there. I don't know, but it's going to be a challenge.
So let's talk about the last game very briefly that you had the opportunity to cover. That was Siena and Iona.
Yeah.
Just give me your takeaways. I did some mid-major games as well, and I did one high-major game. We'll talk about those. Yeah. But what's your thoughts on Siena and Iona?
So it was my first time there. I'd never been to the Heinz gym before. Obviously, I knew about the tradition of Iona. But, listen, it was a great game. Iona had a 5-point lead at half. Then they extended the lead to 12. Siena fought back, took the lead. It was a hard-fought game. At the end of the day, it was your typical hard-fought conference game. These are two teams that have NCAA tournament expectations in their program. Jerry McNamara is in year 2 at Siena. He's trying to build something there. Dan Garrio's in his first year at Iona. He's trying to put them back to where they need to be. It was a hard-fought game. Speaking to Jerry McNamara post-game, he said, Iona hit some really tough shots, but they dug themselves too deep a hole in the beginning to get themselves out of, and then just a couple of things didn't go their way. They're also banged up. They have 3 rotation guys not playing due to injury, so it's not really going to help. They're only playing about 6-7 guys, and they want to press. Like, Jerry McNamara wants to press, but he can't press when you only have 7 guys. It's really hard to do that. I think 3 guys played 39 minutes in that game for him. I mean, that's a lot. And Iona, look, CJ Anthony didn't play well. I mean, Toby Harris was awesome. He had 25 points. I mean, that was like the game Iona fans have been waiting for him to have. So I think these two teams, I know Iona got obliterated today by Marist. They lost by like 45. But I still think Iona and Siena at the end of the day are going to be in the top 3 or 4 in this league. They're too good, too talented, and too well coached.
So I covered 3 games this week. Drexel and Hofstra. Hofstra's really good. I mean, Andrew, as a Syracuse alumnus and from someone who wrote the ACC for the magazine, Hofstra's currently tied for first place in the ACC, technically. They're 2-0. They beat Pitt and they beat Syracuse. They're also tied for first place in the CAA. 3-point win over Drexel. It did come down to the last shot. But Hofstra really, for 38 minutes was really handling Drexel. Let me ask you, we talked a little bit about this yesterday. Is the CAA right now the best mid-major conference in the sport?
It's a loaded question
let's not include A10, WCC, American, or Mountain West.
Mountain West. I think I'd still take the Valley.
Okay,
that's the debate. I like Northern Iowa, Belmont. Murray State's really good. I think CUSA has a lot to say also. I think that's a very competitive league at the top. I know the teams haven't played to the level they're supposed to, but that league is still very competitive at the top with Liberty and Kennesaw State and Western Kentucky and Middle Tennessee and Sam Houston. Like, it's a strong top at that league. The CAA definitely has a seat at the table. Hofstra has, as you mentioned, is great. UNC Wilmington, can't sleep on them. William and Mary is really good.
Charleston.
And Charleston hasn't even played well yet. I mean, they're still trying to figure everything out.
Towson was the preseason favorite, and they're 0-3.
0-3. Yeah. The other league I would say is also up there is the MAC. With Akron and Miami, Ohio. I would say that league's also pretty strong, but the CAA absolutely has a seat at the table, and I agree with you. I think Hofstra is the team to beat right now at the moment. Obviously, that can change, but Speedy Claxton's done a hell of a job. I mean, and Cruz is one of the Cruz Davis is one of the best point guards I've seen this year.
So I covered that. I covered yesterday. I did the doubleheader. I did the Drexel game. Then I did Illinois and Penn State at the Palestra. It was weird that was Penn State's whiteout game, that like it wasn't a game in Happy Valley. Like it was a game in Philadelphia. Like the whole concept was weird. I don't have that many takeaways. Like Illinois handled business like they should have. I know they say conference road wins are tough to come by. Like we saw Louisville had to travel all the way to Stanford and lose that game. So like it does mean something, like just not being able to defend your home court. But like again, Illinois went, handled business on an inferior team, and Keaton Wagler is, I think, a definitive first-round NBA draft pick. He was in foul trouble the whole game. Him and Tomi Ivisic were both in, serious foul trouble, and Illinois still, handled business very easily, I would say. And then today I covered Kennesaw State at Delaware. It was not a game I expected Delaware to win by 15 points. I tweeted out, I covered that game with Riley Friend for Mid-Major Madness in the Portal Report, and the two things I said were Kennesaw State just set the Conference USA record for most points scored in the first 11 games as a member of Conference USA in a season. They scored 1,039 points in the first 11 games. So they're averaging 86 points per game, and they are second in the nation in rebounding, while Delaware is not a good rebounding team. Kennesaw State is also the seventh fastest tempo, according to Ken Palm. Delaware is one of the slowest tempos. So I just thought Kennesaw State was going to dictate the boards, dictate the pace, dictate the score. Like, I just thought they had every single advantage of how polar opposite these teams were. And it goes to show, like, college basketball could be any given Sunday. Like, Delaware really did a good job. It was both teams, I think, at halftime combined for 17 turnovers. Then in the second half, it was only 4 turnovers. The entire second half, I think 2 each. Maybe 5, maybe it was 3-2, whatever it was. But yeah, Kennesaw had 17 offensive rebounds, but they just kept turning it over. Like, Delaware played a zone and just made it incredibly difficult on Kennesaw. Kennesaw finished with, let me see how many points they had. As I said, they averaged 86 coming into this game. They had today against Delaware 52. They lost 67-52. So like it was a very impressive showing from the team. For the magazine, I wrote Conference USA. I had Kennesaw State second in the conference, only behind Liberty. I had Delaware 12th out of 12. Getting acclimated to USC, everything else.
Sure.
So and the team I had 11th for what it's worth, Missouri State, is 3-0 in conference play. It goes to show, like,
yeah, it's crazy.
And for what it's worth, like with how the portal is now, like year by year, there's so much turnover with teams across the nation, especially in the mid majors. It makes it incredibly difficult to even like do those preseason predictions.
Yeah, no, it makes it very difficult, but it just shows you, like, Delaware was preseason picked last. They came from the CAA and they won by 15 against the team that was supposed to be like a top 5 team, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Hofstra was 9th in the preseason poll for the CAA.
Yeah, again, that's hard to believe, really, with what they've done. But yeah, it's crazy. The mid majors is really crazy. I mean, anything can happen on any given night. I mean, look at Iona. They just lost by 45 to Marist. I mean, after beating Siena, like I think I tweeted the other night when I was at the Iona Siena game Friday night. The MAAC, the road teams in that league went 0-6 in the same night.
That goes back to what I was saying in terms of like you need in conference games you need to defend your home court.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, obviously, what it comes down to on a resume is a road game, but that really only matters if you're on the bubble or in the Power 5. Like at the mid-major level, road games, winning road and away doesn't matter. It's really just about winning as many games as you can, because at the end of the day, only one team's getting in.
So here is my question, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
There are currently six undefeated teams remaining. Michigan, Arizona, Iowa State, who are ranked 1, 2, and 3 in the AP poll from a couple weeks ago. Obviously, with the New Year and Christmas, they didn't do an AP poll last week. Mm-hmm. Those 3, plus we saw Nebraska beat Michigan State. They are now 14-0. Vanderbilt beat South Carolina. They are now 14-0. 14-0. And then Miami, Ohio in the MAC, as you alluded to, 15-0. They were underdogs at Bowling Green, won that game handily, and then they beat, probably the next best team in the conference in Akron to, secure victories this week. They're now 15-0. Which of those 6 teams? I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot here.
Yeah.
Let me pull up each team's next 3 games very quickly. Michigan at Penn State, home against Wisconsin, at Washington. I would like to think they win all 3 of those.
They're going 3-0. Yeah, I would agree.
For what it's worth, they are projected to win every game the rest of the year, according to Ken Palm.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it happens, because they kind of feel like, who they kind of feel like that 2021 Gonzaga team that went all the way to the final and lost to Baylor, and they were like absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Kind of what it feels like, or like that Final Four Kentucky team from 2014 when they, they kind of have that feel, like that 38-2 type feel. My concern with them is like they don't really like Lendeborg's really good. I'm not disputing what Yaxel's done, but he's not like Boozer or Jabansta or JT Toppin. Like he's not like a 20-point guy.
No.
So no. I just get concerned. Like you don't have that dude, like that real number. I'm not saying Yaxel's not good, but that like top level guy. I'm just concerned a little bit. And Cadeau's not a shooter, so. They should have no problems, honestly. They play Michigan State at the end of January. That's going to be the game, I think, that'll really test them. It's in East Lansing.
Yeah.
But I tend to believe they're going to be undefeated for a while.
I'm looking at Arizona's schedule. They may be undefeated until the end of January when they go at BYU January 26th. After that, like they're also projected to win every game the rest of the year, according to Ken Palm, including at Houston.
That's so crazy because I don't even think they have a first-team All-American, which is like hard to believe. Like, a team like that. And look, like obviously they're going to get somebody because they win, right? But realistically, like talent-wise, Jade Bradley's probably their best player, or Koa Pete, and they're probably like third-team All-Americans. They're not first or second-team guys, so it's really surprising how good they've been. I tend to believe that's probably the game, that BYU game in Provo. That's a really tough game because that atmosphere is insane. That's going to be a very tough challenge, but they're not going to be afraid of it because they've played tough games in the non-conference. So I don't think they're going to be afraid at all.
And I'm looking at Iowa State. They also are obviously same conference as Arizona in the Big 12.
Yeah.
They also they could slip up next Tuesday, January 13th at Kansas, but again, we don't know Peterson's stat. Like I would very much think Iowa State wins that game. After that, they might be going all the way until they play Houston in February 16th.
Yeah.
And that's a home game for Iowa State. Then they go at BYU. They go Kansas at home, Houston at home, then at BYU, February 14th to 21st. That's the toughest week of the season.
Yeah, that's brutal. That's a tough stretch. They'll probably lose one. I mean, that's because Houston's going to get better. Like, we all know Houston's going to hit their stride, and that's going to be a rock fight, to say the least. But I actually was looking at Nebraska's schedule.
Okay.
And I think their loss is probably going to be at Michigan, which is January 27th. That's probably the first game they lose. Because they go to – now, I'm not saying Ohio State or Indiana can't beat them, because those are not easy road games, but Nebraska should win those games. They host Oregon, go to Northwestern, host Washington, at Minnesota. Like, they should win all of those games.
Yeah.
So these teams are all going to go undefeated probably into late January, at least so far. There's those three.
Vanderbilt, same thing. Vanderbilt plays Alabama on Wednesday. That's a home game for Vanderbilt. If they win that, then they go LSU, at Texas, Florida, who's been rough.
Yeah,
at Arkansas could be their first loss, January 20th.
Yeah, that's a difficult game. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
The mid-major, Miami, Ohio is hard to predict because it's a mid-major team, and that league is good. That's a good league. That's a tough one to figure out, really, because they haven't played anyone really. And I know Travis Steele mentioned that he called every team in the country and they didn't want to schedule him. I don't buy that. That's what he says, but I wouldn't sleep on the Toledo game.
I mean, they already beat, according to KenPom, the 2 highest ranked teams, including themselves. They're third in KenPom. Oh, no, sorry, they're second now. They were third, won at Bowling Green, and then just beat Akron. So, they did beat the 2 best
Yeah.
other teams in the conference for what it's worth.
Yeah. No, they have a game at Buffalo February 3rd. That's not going to be an easy game. Buffalo's looked better than people thought. Kent State's not easy. Toledo. Otherwise, they're pretty soft for a while. No, look, it's always fun to see how far these teams can go undefeated. But as you go more undefeated, the pressure ramps up that much more on your squad.
Yeah. I wanted to give flowers to Todd Phillips and Utah Valley. Given it's a 7-team league, the WAC is fun and competitive.
Oh, yeah.
Cal Baptist is really good. Tarleton State is really good, and Utah Valley is really good. Utah Valley beat Cal Baptist. They won at Charleston in a great game, but then yesterday they lost a road game to Abilene Christian.
It's not bad, but
no, not
Abilene
bad.
Christian's not bad.
But I think those are definitely top 3 teams: Utah Valley, Cal Baptist, and Tarleton State.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, and I just hate to see them win the first 2. Cal Baptist and Tarleton State beat the next 2 best teams, and then drop. But again, as we said, it's tough to win conference games on the road. It just is. It doesn't matter what conference. Yeah,
it's impossible because a lot of these coaches are familiar with each other because they coach against each other every year. So it's a difficult thing. But the WAC's a fun league. I mean, even though, like you said, it's 7 teams, Utah Valley can win a tournament game.
Yeah.
They're more than capable, and Cal Baptist is more than capable. So the WAC's a fun league. But Utah Valley deserves a lot of credit. I mean, when Mark Madsen left to go to Cal, I didn't know if that program was going to hold. And Todd Phillips has done a really good job there.
Shout out to Chris Victor as well with what he's done with Seattle University. They went to overtime with Gonzaga the other day. Really gave them a scare. Yeah,
that was shocking, honestly. I don't know if Gonzaga's players were still on Christmas break. I'm not really sure what happened, but you can't go to overtime with Seattle if you're Gonzaga. That just can't happen. Seattle's been really good.
They've been good.
They beat Washington. They beat Stanford. They lost a tough game to San Francisco. I think it was the first game of conference play. But that team's going to be dangerous in the WCC tournament setting. That is not a team I want to play.
No. And don't do it. This is the first year in the WCC. It's worth noting.
Right. And remember, they were also preseason picked probably relatively low, if I remember right. Because, everyone thought it was going to be Gonzaga, St. Mary's, Santa Clara, and San Francisco. They're like, okay, that's top 4. No one was talking about Seattle at all.
No. SMU beat UNC.
Yeah. No, listen, the Ponies
they finally got the quad 1 win a year later.
Yeah. It's about time.
Yeah.
Look, SMU, Andy Enfield's done a really good job. He just hasn't had the quality wins to back it up. Now he finally got one. North Carolina is going to be a quality win when we get to March. But SMU, I think John and I said this when we did the ACC one and done pod episode. SMU is the underrated team in this league. They've got a really good backcourt with Boobie Miller and Jaron Pierre from Jacksonville State, and then you get a glue down low. They've got a team, and they can win a tournament game or 2 even. They have a coach who's taken a program into a Sweet 16, so they understand what it takes, and they also have money. SMU has money. This is a program that is not going anywhere anytime soon. They have money. They're going to hang around. They're going to be around, and I give Andy Enfield credit for. They beat Carolina by 14. They beat them by double figures.
What about UCF over Kansas? Arkansas over Tennessee. Georgia over Auburn went to overtime miraculously somehow. Georgia still found a way to win it. Let's talk a little Virginia. New Year's Eve, they lose to Virginia Tech in triple overtime. Now they won at NC State. I mean, I was very high on Virginia coming into the year. I still am. A triple overtime also, Virginia Tech isn't going to be detrimental to your resume. It doesn't help, but it's not detrimental to your resume by any means.
Right.
I'm still, high on everything Ryan Odom's building. Do you have anything to add on Virginia?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, I would say, I think we were all high on Ryan Odom. I mean, me, you, and John. I mean, the three of us were very high on him. He's taken multiple programs to the NCAA tournament. My concern with them coming into the year was the defensive side of the ball. And when you bring a lot of mid-major guys together who are usually, the top option, like, could they sacrifice enough? Like, could the egos come to the side? And they've done it. They took the loss to Butler. I think that kind of woke them up a little bit, and listen, losing to Virginia Tech in triple overtime, first of all, it's your arch rival. They usually split those games anyway. And I think Virginia Tech's a tournament team. I think Virginia Tech has looked good.
Yeah.
The NC State winning that game was big for Virginia. It was a good bounce back win for them. I don't know if NC State's going to get in. They're going to be right on the cut line as of this moment. They just, they haven't lived up to expectations under Will Wade in year one. But I think Virginia can absolutely finish top 3, 4, 5 in the league. And right now they're probably, I haven't looked too much at the metrics, but I would say they're probably in that 5, 6 area in terms of seeding at the moment. And that's a team that, again, that can go to the second weekend because they have firepower and they have a coach that knows how to win in the tournament.
What's your sentiment on NC State? I know you just mentioned it, but like, I would think they're going to end up making the tournament, but like, I don't know. I really don't.
Yeah. First of all, it takes time with new players, new coaching staff. I know Virginia made it look easy, but some programs, it takes a while, and Will Wade is a no-nonsense guy. He's a unique person as a coach, and he says it like it is. A lot of players can't handle that. I don't think Darian Williams has played as well as they anticipated. I think they thought he was going to be a first-team All-American type player, and it hasn't been that way so far. Obviously, that can change. I was concerned coming into the season with the lack of size. They really don't have an elite rim protector. Ben Allen Lubin's really their center, and he's more of a power forward, so I love Paul McNeil. He's been great. Matt Abel's pretty solid as well. But when Quadir Copeland's leading your scoring, it's, against Virginia, that's not good. And that's no disrespect to Quadir Copeland. He shouldn't be your leading scorer. You have Trey Holloman, Arsenault. Like, you've got all these other guys. And for Quadir Copeland to be the leading scorer, I would be concerned. And defensively, they have not looked good this year. It's very streaky with their defense. It sometimes looks really good, and other times it's like they don't even try. Based on talent, I would agree with you, Steve. I think they're going to be in. Because the bottom of the ACC is not good, so they should pick up some wins to help their metrics a little bit. But I don't know. It's kind of like, I think they can beat the bad teams, but against the good teams, I'm not really sure. So they're probably like a middle of the road team in that league. They're probably going to be in that 8-9 game, maybe 7, somewhere around there. And they're going to be fighting for their lives, around the tournament time. So we'll see. But based on talent, I think they should be in.
Last team I want to talk about, and then we'll start previewing next week. Florida lost to Missouri. Let me pull up. Florida they're 9-5 now. They're 347th in the nation 3-point shooting still, so that's not getting better. They're home against Georgia, who I wasn't high on Georgia. I'm still not that high, but I'm a little bit more convinced after they beat Auburn. They're playing Georgia, Tennessee, at Oklahoma, at Vanderbilt. Okay. LSU at home, Auburn home, at South Carolina. So, that, other than Vanderbilt and Tennessee, I think they should win basically every one of those games.
Yeah.
Maybe Auburn gives them a little difficulty in Gainesville. But, we know the SEC. This is a conference that's got 14 bids. It's not going to get easier for Florida. Again, they don't have really a bad loss. I know they lost to TCU on a neutral. I know they lost at Missouri.
Right.
But that's TCU's 53rd in Ken Palm at the time of the game. Missouri was 60th on Saturday when they beat Florida. So, they're not good losses, but they're not terrible losses either, I suppose. Mm-hmm. So what's your overall thoughts on Florida?
Like you said, none of their losses are bad. I mean, TCU is not great.
Yeah.
Missouri may not look good either. I mean, again, Conrad covered the SEC for the magazine, and he was pretty open about how defensively we were all concerned in the backcourt with Xavier Lee and Boogie Fland. And I was just concerned because Boogie Fland is not really a shooter, and he was coming off injury at Arkansas. Like, I just didn't know what you were going to get out of him. And he's averaging only 11 points a game and only 3 assists. Like, that's not like they need more out of Fland. Like, you can't just get 11 points out of him. Xavier Lee's only 12 points. Xavier Lee's shooting 27% from three. Boogie Fland is shooting 20. Like, that's just, it's not, when you don't have a backcourt that can't shoot, you're not going to win. It's just how it is in today's game. You've got to be able to score in the backcourt and you've got to be able to shoot on the perimeter. And they haven't been able to do that this year, and that's why they've lost their games. I mean, Thomas Howe's been good. Condon's had his moments. I think Shinyelu's been pretty good, averaging a double-double pretty much every night. I like Klavzar, the backup guard there. But, yeah, they got to get this backcourt figured out. I mean, until those two guys start shooting the ball better, it's going to be up and down all year for them. But remember, we saw this last year with UConn. Remember, UConn won the national championship. They fell to an 8 seed. So this can happen again, Florida. Yeah. I mean, Florida could make it. They could be like an 8 seed. They'll be a dangerous 8 seed, but I don't think anyone's picking them to win the national title this year. Just their backcourt just hasn't been good enough.
I could see them. It's not a perfect comparison by any means, but I could see them like being St. John's from last year. St. John's last year won the Big East tournament. They ended up being a 2 seed, but they were a defensive-minded team that just could not shoot the ball. Could not shoot at all.
Right.
Florida's a similar way. Like, I know they're not coming off to a hot start like last year, St. John. Like, they're not going to be a 2 seed like St. John's was last year.
Yeah.
But same idea. Like, St. John's lost the round of 32 to Arkansas because they couldn't shoot, and RJ Lewis ended up getting benched by Rick Pitino in the tournament. And then we know what happened there.
Until they can learn, until those guards get some kind of chemistry on the offensive end and the defensive end, it is going to be hard for them to win. It just is what it is. Like, they can beat the low end teams. Like, I'm not worried about them against like South Carolina or Texas has been a disappointment too. But those teams, I'm not worried. It's like when you start playing teams like Alabama, you start playing teams like Vanderbilt, Tennessee. Like, those losses can't pile up because your quad 1 and 2 record can't look this bad. Like, you can't be like 3-10 in Q1, Q2. You're gonna have to win some of those games to impress the committee. Otherwise, they're not gonna. I mean, their name's going to hold weight in the room, obviously, but their seed is going to take a major hit. I mean, they were probably, a 5 or 6 seed coming in to that Missouri game. So right now they look like a 7 or an 8 seed. Realistically, it's what they look like, which is not very good for them.
Right now they look like they might be a bubble team. I think you're anticipating, some growth given the defense champs and the experience and everything else overall. Yeah.
I am. You have to trust Todd Golden. I mean, he just won a national championship, and I think Xavier Lee, he was in the Ivy League. Maybe it took a little more time than we thought adjusting to the SEC, and he was a mid-major guard. I mean, you got to remember he was coming from the mid-major league. It takes a little time for him to get used to the physicality. It's a different level from the Ivy League to the SEC. Boogie Fland, I think, is just, remember last year. I think it's just injuries. Last year he was hurt. Probably, who knows how healthy he is now. Remember, he had surgery before the year started. So I don't know what his deal is, but they got to get those two on track if they want a shot.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to recap from last week before we get into some games this upcoming week?
No.
I think it's worth noting San Diego State beat Boise State last night in triple overtime. Like, they're starting to.
Yeah. That was a crazy game. San Diego State's played a double overtime and a triple overtime game in the same year, which is really crazy. But that was the team that I had some high expectations for. I ranked them preseason top 25. I mean, I thought they were really good, and they've been a disappointment. And I think they're starting to figure some things out in the Mountain West. We're not used to seeing them score 90 points a game. This is a different San Diego State team. So, but with the Mountain West kind of watered down this year, I do think this team can rise up the rankings quite a bit. We'll see. Remember, last year they were in Dayton. They got blown out by Carolina. So we'll kind of see how it plays out throughout Mountain West play. The other team I would mention, is Iowa, beating UCLA. Iowa's looked, this is a team that really didn't have quality wins coming in. I don't know how good UCLA really is because they've had so many injuries with Dent and Bilodeau, and, UCLA's been kind of a disappointment, but Iowa needed a quality win. we all know Ben McCollum can coach, and we all know Bennett Sturts is going to be an All-American. But I've been really impressed with Iowa. I think it's a team that can make the second weekend. I really believe in what Ben McCollum can do.
Yeah, I agree. I've been super high on Iowa. I'm just, the depth of that conference was what I was concerned about, that there were more, at least I thought, proven commodities. And like you told me Nebraska would start 14-0. I'm like, that's another team you need to throw in there. Sorry, I'm actually submitting, as we're talking, my top 25 for the Everything College Basketball podcast. I'm a weekly voter for them. I needed to have it in tonight. I really had trouble trying to figure out who the 25th team in my ranking was, for what it's worth.
Seton Hall?
I put Villanova.
I'm okay with that.
Because they beat Seton Hall. So that's what it really came down to.
That's fine. I'm okay with that. I have no problem
that was I had 24 teams. I'm like, who the hell do I put at 25?
Yeah, and then it's really those three Big East teams fighting for that last spot. But I'm fine with it. Villanova's better than Seton Hall and St. John's at the moment. So
at the moment, yeah. We'll see how they do against Creighton on Wednesday, which is a game I'm going to be covering.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. Villanova's played really well, surprisingly well, I think, to some. But Kevin Willard just keeps doing his thing. This is what he's done at every program, is win. And it'll be a good game because, like I said, I expect Creighton to be pissed off after tonight. So that should be a really good game. And you know Greg McDermott well because you interviewed him for the magazine, and we also covered it for Big East Media Day. So that should be a good game for sure.
So, okay. There are obviously with conference play, this is where it's different from the beginning of the year, where we kind of have to find good non-conference matchups. With conference play, it's very difficult to pause through everything. So Andrew, in our show notes, obviously I'm going to give a little bit behind the scenes here. I basically listed each day, the top games on each day. We're going to pick a couple to talk about.
Sure.
Tomorrow, I'm going to be at Penn and Princeton at Jadwin. Princeton just snapped an 8-game losing streak with a win over Vermont. Penn, I'm hoping Ethan Roberts plays. I did have an opportunity to speak with Ethan on New Year's Eve. He said he's doing a lot better. And Jaden Daly actually said there was a shot Ethan could have played against Rutgers. So that's great news for Penn. That's great news for Ethan. He's a hell of a kid, hell of a player. But I'm anticipating Penn. I do think they are, with TJ Power, and assuming Ethan is healthy, a serious Ivy League contender. They're not Yale level, but they might be the next best team. So I'm going to be at that game tomorrow at Princeton. Nebraska at Ohio State. Would it shock you if Ohio State won that game tomorrow?
A little, I think, just because I'm not really bought into Jake Diebler as a coach. It's I like Bruce Thornton. I think he's really good.
He's unbelievable.
He's so good.
Yeah.
But Jake Diebler hasn't won anything at Ohio State. I mean, he had an opportunity against North Carolina in the CBS Sports Classic. They lost. And I think he's got to get in to keep his job because Ohio State is a big name job.
Yeah.
He's got to get them in the tournament. And I don't know if I trust him enough to do it. I'm taking Nebraska. I think Nebraska finds a way to win the game. They're playing out of their minds right now.
I just think it goes back to, like I said previously, it is.
Yeah.
You have to defend your home court in
100%
conference play. I'm still very high. I agree with everything you're saying in terms of I don't know if Diebler's the guy for Ohio State, but I just believe Bruce Thornton. I think that front court is very underrated. I'm super high on Ohio State.
They have a good team. The roster's good. The roster's good. I just don't trust the coach to get the most out of the roster against high-quality opponents. That's my problem.
USC at Michigan State is the other Big Ten matchup worth talking about. USC was just a 22.5-point underdog to Michigan. That's crazy that both those teams were ranked as a 22.5-point spread. That shows how dominant Michigan has been.
Yeah.
William and Mary at Charleston. We already talked about the CAA a little bit. But what I think is going to be the most fun game tomorrow night, Andrew, in the Southland, potentially the two best teams in that conference, Stephen F. Austin at McNeese.
Yeah. Stephen F. Austin's played well this year. I mean, that's a team that I don't think was on too many people's radars in the Southland because they were all like, "Oh, McNeese is going to blow them out." I'm telling you, Stephen F. Austin could win that game. It is
Yeah.
absolutely doable, and I think McNeese needs to pay full attention to them because McNeese, listen, when Will Wade was there, they dominated, and obviously they won a tournament game. But McNeese finally has like a legitimate contender in that league next to them, and I'll still take McNeese because the game's at McNeese, right? Yeah, so
Yes, it is.
I'll still take McNeese because they're at home. If it was flipped, I probably would have taken Stephen F. Austin in that game.
I'm curious. Let me pull it up now. What do you think Ken Palm has winning between McNeese at Stephen F. Austin? So not tomorrow's game, the next time.
Oh boy. The line's probably like 1.5 or 2 somewhere, maybe 2.5.
So they in favor of who?
Probably the home team, I would think.
No, they had McNeese. Ken Palm has McNeese -2, 73-71 over Stephen F. Austin. That's on February 2nd.
Okay.
Fortis was McNeese is 67th in Ken Palm. Stephen F. Austin is 118. So it is still a sizable gap, at least in Ken Palm.
There is a gap there. Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be a fun game to track tomorrow. It's potentially 2 best teams because the Southland, McNeese brought that conference back from the dead. That conference was awful until Will Wade took the McNeese job, and now it's a little exciting.
Again. I mean, that conference was always the 16 playing team forever, and now that McNeese is in it, they're like, I don't know, like a 13 seed now or 12, depending on how McNeese does this year.
They were 12 last year when they beat Clemson.
Yeah, Clemson played probably the worst half of basketball anyone's ever watched.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was McNeese has a thing going. They got a program and Will Wade put it in place, and Bill Armstrong. Yeah, he's just kept it going, and Bill Armstrong's probably going to get a high major job soon if he keeps McNeese's stuff going. He's going to get one. I mean, he is a very good assistant, I think, for Scott Drew. So, it's a guy who Scott Drew's coaching tree has done pretty well. Think about Jerome Tang and Grant McCaslin. I mean, it's pretty good.
John Jacobs.
Yeah, him too at FAU. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, Tuesday, there's a whole bunch of games. Again, I'm not going to be able to go through we're not going to be able to just go through every single good game there's going to be. Duke of Louisville is definitely worth talking about as the projected 2 best teams in the ACC. Who do you like in that game?
I'm going to take Louisville. Louisville needs to bounce back. That Stanford loss was bad. And honestly, I have concerns with Duke. I mean, they have not looked good against Georgia Tech and Florida State. They did not. They should be blowing those teams out, and they're just not. I don't know if it's a competition thing, if it's if it's still we were on holiday break thing. I don't know, but they should have blown out Georgia Tech. I mean, the fact the game was even, they were a 27.5-point favorite in that game, Duke. I mean, I'm concerned. I'm not saying they're not going to lose the conference. They're probably still going to win the ACC. But I think the national championship Final Four aspirations, I am concerned. I don't know if they can get there, even with Cam Boozer.
What about Georgia at Florida? A team that's been playing very well. Georgia, who's now 12 for 13-1. But we both said we're still not that high on, even though they just beat Auburn in overtime. Against Florida, who needs to win that game and defend their home court.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Gators. They're going to be desperate. Like you said, they have to play desperate. You're 9-5. It's not a good record. And Georgia really hasn't been tested that much on the road. That Auburn game was at home. So now they're going to go on the road against the defending national champs who are pissed off. They lost to Missouri. I wouldn't be shocked if Florida blows them out, to be honest with you, just because Florida's so angry and after the way they played against Missouri, and Georgia's coming off this really big high, and then let's say they have a letdown game. It would not surprise me if Florida handles their business. I'll take Florida at home.
What about Texas Tech in Houston? That game is at Houston. Texas Tech, obviously, we know you were there in the Garden when they beat Duke a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, no, again, the concern with Texas Tech is just lack of depth. Just outside of Toppin, Watts, and Anderson, I don't know what they have.
But that's a really strong top 3.
Yeah, I mean, remember last year? I think didn't Texas Tech win last year in Houston, or they
They
got
did.
really
I
close.
believe they
Yeah,
did.
and that was the game that McCaslin got thrown out, and they still won. So we all know that's going to be a rock. To me, those are the two hardest playing teams in the country. Those teams play so hard for their coach and the style of play in which they do. The key for me is going to be Houston shutting down Christian Anderson. Because when he gets in those zones, he is impossible to guard. So like you've got to, I think they're going to have to shut the water off with him. Toppin's going to get his 20 and 10. That's just what he does, And Lawan Watts has been really good for them. But I think if you could shut the water off with Anderson, with Sharp and Uzan, and then of course Kingston Flemings, who's looked really good. I like Houston. I think Houston fine, but I just think they're deeper, and I think they're going to wear Texas Tech out. I'll take Houston.
So I'm gonna ask you a question.
Sure.
Knowing that LeJean Watts has not been all that great up until
Yeah.
the
Really,
last
really the
couple
Duke game.
Yeah. Who is which team has the best trio in college basketball? There was 3 teams that came to mind. Texas Tech was one of 3, but I think because Watts just started performing well, I put them 3rd.
Okay.
So who has a better trio? I mean, Michigan, you could say the 3 bigs.
I'm going to go with Iowa State.
I was between Iowa State and BYU.
Yeah, I'm going to go Iowa State. I mean, I love Jabanza. He's so good. He reminds me a lot of Carmelo Anthony when he was at Syracuse. Like, it's very similar. I don't know. There's something about Iowa State. Like, I just trust, like, defensively, they're so good usually. And Jefferson is a triple-double threat every night. Lipsey has been, when he's playing and he's not hurt, he's good. And Momcilovic, to me, has taken a massive leap. Like I said before, I mean, people think I'm crazy. I think he could be a first-round pick. I really believe in Momcilovic.
Big shooter. And that matters.
He's a great shooter. He's really good. I mean, every time he touches the ball, you think it's going in. I would take Iowa State, I think. But I think there's a lot. Like, I think UConn's probably in the mix there with Caravan, Reed, and the other guy's name is escaping me right now. But I'm Purdue, obviously. You think about Smith, Kaufman, Wren,
and Lawyer, of course.
Lawyer. Like, I think Purdue's in that mix, but I'll take my chances with Iowa State. I love Jefferson. I think he's really good. He's a kind of a Swiss Army knife guy, and he's honestly underrated in the National Player of the Year discussion. I don't think he's being talked about enough.
Okay, so that brings us to. Is there any other game Tuesday? I mean, obviously, there's Texas at Tennessee. Tennessee desperately needs a bounce back win after losing to Arkansas. St. John's at Butler. Both those St. John's need to win that game.
Yeah, that's a must win for St. John's. I mean, Rick Pitino basically said that his team's back is against the wall. I mean, they got to win that game. The one game that's interesting for me is UCLA and Wisconsin, because it's 2 teams that are kind of like Wisconsin to me is not a tournament team right now. They've got to get some things figured out, and UCLA is just. I think we're all kind of waiting for them to do something, and they're just not figuring it out. I don't know if it's the injuries, if it's the lack of chemistry. I don't know what it is, but I think a lot of us, like I had UCLA preseason 3rd in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And they don't look the part at all. And I have concerns with this group because Donovan Dent was, I thought, going to be a 3rd, at least an All-American, with what he did at New Mexico, and it just hasn't worked out for him. So that should be an interesting game.
They're that team, UCLA, that meme with the guy with the stick poking. Come on, do something.
Yeah. Because that team should be better than what they are. And they're just not.
Okay, so then we have Wednesday, a whole slew of games. Wednesday, I will be at Creighton, at Villanova, at Finneran Pavilion. We already talked about that. There's just a lot of teams that, how we talk about Florida being desperate against Georgia. How desperate is Kentucky to win a home game against Missouri, for example?
Wow. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Massively desperate. I mean, they didn't look great against Alabama. So I don't want to say a must win because it's early and they're still a tournament team in my book, Kentucky. But they've got to win that game. I mean, you're at home. Missouri's coming off a major high after beating Florida. So listen. I know Mark Pope's paying attention, and he knows Missouri just beat Florida, so he's going to get his players' attention. Hopefully, the players get the message because to me, it's a huge game for Kentucky. They've got to figure it out.
Vanderbilt, Alabama at Vanderbilt. We already talked about a little bit.
Yeah, that'll be a good game. The one game I'm circling actually is UConn Providence. I think this is an interesting game because Providence is coming off a major season-changing win against St. John's, and we know Providence is very good at home. It's a hard arena to win in. UConn, they handled Marquette. Marquette's nothing exciting. So I'm curious to see how Providence responds after beating St. John's. Can they do it again? Because offensively, they can do it. But defensively, Tim English mentioned in the presser that defensively, his team has not been consistent this year. So can Providence find something against UConn? Because if they beat UConn and St. John's back-to-back, all of a sudden Providence starts to work themselves back into the bubble picture. So that's going to be an interesting game because Providence is a very good home team usually.
What about maybe the two best teams in the A10? St. Louis is at VCU. Shout out to George Mason and Tony Skinn. I don't want to discredit anything they're doing.
Sure. No, it's going to be a good game.
Yeah. Iowa State at Baylor. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say St. Louis to me is the clear favorite in that league. I don't think there's any debating that.
I agree.
VCU, I think a lot of people thought they were going to win the league because one, Phil Martelli Jr. can coach, and two, it's VCU. They have the tradition and they're always up there. But St. Louis is really good. I mean, Avila, as we all know, is really a talented player, and I think Josh Schertz is in line to get a Power 5 job. So it's a huge game, though, in terms of who's going to potentially get that 1 seed maybe in the A10 tournament. So this is a massive game, and VCU is a tough place to play. Very difficult arena, very difficult environment. So that'll be a great game. So yeah, I would definitely recommend watching that one.
Otherwise, FAU at UAB has some American conference implications. Iowa State at Baylor. USF at North Texas is another great American game. SMU at Clemson. Like, that game may determine which one of those teams to make the NCAA tournament potentially.
Yeah, I still, Clemson, they played Syracuse and Pitt their first 2 games, and they didn't look great in either game. I'm going to take SMU. I just really like this group offensively. I mean, they can score. I mean, they just put up 97. They just don't have any
depth.
I know. Well, they're young. That's the problem. There's so many freshmen in their room, but they just put up 97 on Carolina. What do you think about that? 97. Now, Clemson's a gritty team. I mean, Brad Brownell is a gritty guy. Like, the problem with Clemson is their backcourt doesn't score nearly enough. Like, I think Clemson, if they want to win this game, they got to keep it low. It's got to be in like the 60s, 7, type game. Kind of like the Ponies. I kind of like SMU in that game, honestly.
Yeah. Then Grand Canyon at Boise is at least worth mentioning in terms of, the Mountain West has had 4, 5, and 6 teams each the last 3 years in the tournaments.
Yeah.
If they want to, be a 2, 3, 4 bid league, like Boise is probably going to win that game as good as Grand Canyon is.
Yeah, and Boise's coming off that tough loss to San Diego State, so they've got to respond. I would expect them to respond against Grand Canyon. Listen, I think Bryce Drew's done a really nice job in his first year in the Mountain West. It's not easy adjusting leagues, and but I'm going to go with Boise State. They're going to be an interesting team on the bubble because of the loss they took early in the year to Hawaii Pacific, but I think they're going to bounce back. We'll see how much energy they have, after you play a triple overtime game, but I would tend to lean with Leon Rice and the Broncos there.
So then we have Thursday and Friday. There's not that many games. Thursday, I'll be at Stony Brook at Drexel. Ohio State needs to find a way to win at Oregon. Oregon's been awful. I mean, they did beat Maryland the other day without Shellstad, but they aren't good. And it's always tough being, that East Coast to West Coast road trip. We've seen, again, Louisville's victim to that when they played at Stanford. San Fran at LMU, Santa Clara at Gonzaga, fun games. But that's pretty much it on Thursday. Friday, You will be at Canisius at Manhattan.
Yep.
There's also Miami, Ohio, again, 15-0 at Toledo, and UNLV at Colorado State. I still think it's some appeal, even though UNLV's been underachieving.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's got some appeal, and it's a Mountain West game. UNLV, they've been disappointing under Pastner, no question. Colorado State, I think, surprised people a little bit. Then Utah State beat them by 42 and kind of talked them off the ledge a little bit. But I think it'll still be a good game. I mean, Mountain West games are always exciting. They're good. I'm just looking at San Diego State, Boise State, it's triple overtime. So I think it still has some pull, though. I do. I think that game still has pull.
Okay, so then we have Saturday and Sunday. Basically, every team in the nation just about plays one of those 2 days. Again, we are already over an hour in, so we're going to have to kind of go rapid fire. Wisconsin and Michigan. You would think Michigan wins that game. We already talked about Wisconsin, how they would need it. Nebraska at Indiana.
Huge game for the Hoosiers.
Huge game. Tennessee at Florida. Huge game for both those teams.
Yep.
Poor VCU has to play St. Louis and then go at George Mason.
Yeah. Welcome to being in a difficult mid-major league.
There you go.
Mason's been better than people thought, by the way.
Again, for the second year in a row.
Yeah, Skin's done a great job. Really good job at over there.
Houston at Baylor, LSU, Vanderbilt, SMU at Duke, St. John's at Creighton. Again, I could go on and on. I will be at St. Louis at the Sal on Saturday. Okay. Again, I'm excited to see St. Louis live. Like we already talked about them. They're very good.
Hopefully LaSalle can keep it close for you.
Arkansas at Auburn, Wake Forest at North Carolina, Seton Hall at Georgetown, Utah State at Boise State. It's a lot of good games. A lot of good basketball on Saturday. Then Sunday, Illinois at Iowa is the main one. We already talked about how good Iowa is. I saw Illinois play yesterday. They were very good. Those are probably the fourth and fifth best teams in the Big Ten as of now. Obviously behind Michigan, Purdue, and Nebraska. Yeah,
they're probably you got to include Michigan State in there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So they're probably five. They're like 4, 5, 6.
And again, that shows how strong the Big Ten is.
Yeah, no, that should be a great game. I mean, Illinois really likes to play up and down. Iowa tends to play a little bit slow. Like McCollum wants to play a little slower. So I can't wait to watch Bennett Sturts against Kylan Boswell, because Boswell's played well for Illinois this year.
Boswell's unbelievable.
Yeah, it should be a really fun game.
Okay, is there any games you want to bring up or discuss before we sign off?
No, I think you hit everything. I think we're good.
Okay, and again, there's so many good games that we didn't have the capacity to talk about, unfortunately. But otherwise, okay. You can find me on Twitter at @the_NBAGel. That's NBAGELL. You can find Andrew at his new Twitter. Go follow him at Andrew S Hoops 2. Check out Andrew's game recaps. He's been doing on Substack. On his Substack, but we'll also, for our Last Week in College Basketball piece, you can find them there as well. Tomorrow, I am releasing a big article about an NBA and G League player, so be on the lookout for that. I put a lot of time into it. It's going to be well worth the read. I could guarantee that. Otherwise, busy week of us covering games once again. We'll have some insights from Julian Mendelson as well on our Last Week in College Basketball piece. He was at Temple, UTSA, and St. Joe's Davidson. So we're going to, get his reaction to those games. Otherwise, follow us on socials at the Center Hub _BB on all socials as well. And the centerhub.substack.com is where you could find our website and all our work. Otherwise, listen to One and Done, listen to Bird Rights. Use promo code TCH for $30 on CBB Analytics. Otherwise, myself, Andrew, we will talk to you guys next week. Thanks for listening.